What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Cracka Crumbs update. Before I get into this whole thing, because I'm going to do a review and talk about some interesting things that I recently found out, Mongo Stomptime07, a friend of mine actually wants to give you a message, so here it is.
Somebody told me that it's your birthday. I'm not going to tell you who it was, because that just wouldn't be proper. So, I'm going to tell you what my father never said to me. Happy birthday from your friend, the Joker. How about we just try and make it a good one? It just might be your last.
There you go. But seriously, Mongo Stomptime07, Gary, I want to wish you a happy birthday, man. I hope you have a fun one. Enjoy it. Enjoy your day. And moving on. I'm going to throw this up here because these books that I'm going to review here, maybe a lot of people haven't read them, so if you don't want to know what's in these, wait till you see this card again, and that's when the spoilers are over. I'm going to go over Uncanny X-Men number 20, which is the last one. The final issue. Which is funny because I just realized that that's the Phoenix burning the actual photo. Now it's kind of interesting because I'm going to have to definitely backtrack to find some stuff out. But anyway, this is kind of the aftermath of Avengers vs. X-Men when Cyclops had the Phoenix Force, Colossus, Namor, and the White Queen. There's a couple, small elements that are probably going to lead to big things later on, but the one thing that two things I found were very interesting is in this, back in the day, when I was collecting comics in the 80s, Colossus' sister, Illyana Rasputin, when he came out in the 70s, she was just a little kid, she didn't have any mutant powers, but in the 80s, they made her a mutant, and she was aged to a teenager, and apparently no one really knew, what her powers were, she didn't know she was a demon princess kind of thing, or some weird thing. But anyway, she was aged to a teenager, and she joined the New Mutants, so on and so forth, going around. And right around the time before I stopped collecting comics, in 94, I'm going to say. I think that's when it was. Yeah, towards the end of 94. Uncanny X-Men, I think it was either 303, 304, maybe it was one of those. Basically, Illyana's turned back into a kid or something way before then, and she gets the legacy virus, which was from Strife in the Executioner song. That was his gift to the world, which is basically, it was a mutant version of AIDS, and she winds up dying, and in the following issue, that Colossus kind of snaps and flips out on Professor X and says, you know what, this is your fault, and whole big thing, and winds up joining Magneto's acolytes, because Magneto's like, come with me and I'll show you a better path. Then Colossus basically just loses his taste for it, he just doesn't think that Magneto's right, and the whole, big thing, and then Illyana winds up coming back to life later on, which I don't know when that happened because I wasn't collecting comics then. But apparently she comes back to life, and Colossus joins Excalibur and whole big thing. Then later on, which one of the issues I do have, Astonishing X-Men, towards the late 90s. I'm sorry, late 90s, after the beginning of maybe the middle? No, beginning of 2000-ish, 2001 or something, I don't know. One of those. You know what it is, where Kitty Pryde has Colossus' urn, because apparently he died from trying to, he had the cure or something like that for the legacy virus, but he had to inject it into himself to get the cure, it's a whole big thing. But anyway, he dies, and then it wasn't really him, so he comes back to life. Then he winds up getting possessed by the Juggernaut, basically, the demon Sidorak. So he's now like the Juggernaut Colossus kind of thing, so really overpowered, but really cool. And then, of course, before this, he's part of the Phoenix then, so then he's extremely overpowered. But anyway, besides that, in this book, I'm rambling, but like I said, I'm going to have to backtrack and figure out how this works. In this book, basically, Colossus in Siberia, looking at stuff that, is destroyed now from him, basically. And his sister pops up, and he immediately switches into, a demon form, the demon Sidorak. And she turns around and brings him to her dimension, or whatever, her hell dimension, where she's the queen, the supreme ruler, and hits him with the sword or something like that, and winds up destroying the demon Sidorak, from him. And then all of a sudden, she goes back to our realm, And he goes, "What'd you do?" And she's like, "Well, I basically freed you. Um, the demon's no longer your problem. But I couldn't do that on Earth. I had to bring you into my realm where I'm more powerful than him." Whole big thing. And she's like, I did you a favor. And then she turns around and says, "Your snowflake melted a long time ago. Don't come looking for me. Don't try to find me." And he turns around and says, "If I ever see you again, I'm going to kill you." So now, my question is, when the hell did they become enemies? That's what I want to know. I'm going to have to try to backtrack. If anyone knows when that happened, let me know. I'd appreciate it so I know what to look for. But the funny thing, not funny, but it's just kind of amazing because like Colossus, I always liked Colossus when it became Juggernaut. I was kind of skeptical, but Juggernaut's my favorite villain, so it was kind of like that's really kind of cool. But it's crazy that Colossus went from being like a gentle giant kind of thing to like this crazed bruiser kind of guy. It's like, I'm going to destroy you, where it used to be like, this, wow, it's a beautiful sunset, insane. But also a crazy pivotal point in here. Again, something else I'm going to have to backtrack and figure out when the hell this happened. But Cyclops, they show Cyclops in jail, in the prison that he's in. And this girl comes to visit him and says, like, she's a mutant PR representative or something like that. And, he's like, "I don't need your help, blah, blah, blah." And goes, and then all of a sudden the girl reveals that she's Mr. Sinister, or Mrs. Sinister, I guess would be the more accurate thing. And Cyclops is kind of like, "Wow, oh my god, what's going on?" And, "How are you doing?" And, basically Mr. Sinister's like, "Oh, well, you're the only one who can stop me." Like, because Cyclops like, "What are you trying to get at?" Or something like that. Like, "What's, I'm in prison. What do you want? What more do you want from me?" And he's like, "You're the only one who can stop me, and you're locked in here, and you're never getting out, and I'm out here. So whenever you want to start this game up, come and find me," or something like that. And Cyclops, at the end of it, just kind of like, "Now what do I do?" Like, crap. But anyway, it's a really good book. I really enjoyed it. It sucks that it's the last one, but, they're going to remake all this stuff anyway. Which brings me to everyone's favorite book, Avengers vs. X-Men Consequences #2. It's the one you love to hate. I actually enjoy it. I think it's very interesting. Because I just want to see what happens to Cyclops. Like, I'm just kind of like, what's going to happen? In this one, the end of the first one, Wolverine's there. And in this one, basically, it's him and Wolverine going back and forth until Wolverine finally snaps and says, and tackles Cyclops. And is about ready to put his claws through Cyclops' face, basically. And Cyclops kind of grins at him and says, "What are you waiting for?" And Wolverine figures out, he's like, "Well, you want to die, like, what the hell?" And then Cyclops is saying, he's like, "I'm gonna, if you kill me or I die here, which is gonna happen, I'm gonna be a martyr. I'm gonna be the savior of the mutant race." And he's delusional as hell. Like, he's just kind of like, eh. And it's funny because if you ever read the comics, obviously, or if you watch the movie or the cartoon, Wolverine hates Cyclops, hates him. And one of the awesomest lines in here was Wolverine, after he gets off of Cyclops, kind of sinks to the ground and goes, "You know what, Scott?" He goes, "You really take the fun out of killing somebody you hate." And it was just, it's crazy. And then, but Cyclops really believes that, like, he's kind of done the right thing and roundabout sort of thing, which is funny. Again, it's when I was growing up, Cyclops was always the leader of the X-Men, or, he was always the good guy. He was always a straight Boy Scout kind of guy, where everything is done by the book. If you do it by the book, you're going to be fine. You'll come out alive. Everyone watches each other's back. But now he's a killer. He killed Professor X, the guy who basically taught him everything he knows. He destroyed him, wiped him out, But basically, at the end of this thing, Cyclops is in like the machine shop with a kid that just became a mutant. Suddenly, it triggered because of the whole thing that went down in this, Avengers vs. X-Men. And these other inmates are about ready to kill them, and that's where it ends. And they go into #3 with a sorry-looking Iron Man. Cyclops kicks the crap out of everybody, and you see him collect some metal shavings, basically, and puts it in a little thing and puts it away. But what's interesting in this is basically they show, like, Kitty Pryde visiting Emma Frost, who apparently turned herself in, and because they hate each other too, but it's not like she's really kind of gloating, but she almost is. Like, Kitty Pryde is kind of like, haha, you finally got what you deserve. And Emma Frost is kind of like, when I was a villain, I was never caught, and now that I'm a good guy, I'm in jail. Like, she was kind of like, but it looks like she's kind of turning back to her old White Queen self, like the evil White Queen. And another interesting thing is you see Storm at Wolverine's school, and Magic pops up out of nowhere and gives Storm an envelope saying, "This is where my brother is. You should go turn him in. See ya." And just leaves, and then Storm's kind of like, yeah, maybe I will, you know. But another interesting thing, like I said, I want to see what happens. Cyclops, before he goes to sleep, winds up taking the metal filings and draws some kind of satanic symbol on the floor. When he wakes up, it says "Hello, Scott" across the where the symbol was, and he puts in, you know, "hello" or whatever, and the dust turns to a thing saying, "Do you want me to break you out?" And he says no, and the dust says, "Understood." So, and that's kind of where it ends. Like, he's kind of like, "I got this," you know, but I just want to be in contact with you. Now, the way I see it, obviously, unless he's talking Mephisto, I believe it's Magic. So it's probably him and Magic are on the same team, I guess, still, or something. Can't wait to see what happens in the next one. It's interesting. Which moves into my final one, The Amazing Spider-Man, number 696. I absolutely love this cover. I think it's great. But in this thing, it was it'll bring it to my next point. But when I was growing up, again, like I said, Ned Leeds was basically the Hobgoblin, and then he winds up getting killed, and then Jason Philip McIndale was the Hobgoblin that I really kind of grew up on. But it was always Ned Leeds or Jason Philip McIndale. Never knew anything about Roderick Kingsley. Didn't have a clue. Didn't know who he was until I started backtracking the Spider-Man issues, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then everyone, because when I was growing up, everyone thought the Hobgoblin was Ned Leeds. It was like this huge secret that they had, and when they revealed, it's like, oh, the Hobgoblin's this guy. You're like, oh, all right, you know, that's the Hobgoblin. And like, if you look at like the old trading cards, you know, it always said either Ned, well, it said Ned Leeds is the legendary Hobgoblin or whatever, and then it was Jason Philip McIndale, which eventually became, they had the demon goblin, or the Demo Goblin they called them. So they had those two Hobgoblins. Whew, lots to talk about. But anyway, then later on you find out that Roderick Kingsley is actually the original Hobgoblin, but kept it a huge secret for, like, you know, forever. And now, this, like I said, I'm going to have to really backtrack on stuff. A lot of comics don't have to go backwards. Now, this new guy here, apparently, is Phil Urich. He's the new Hobgoblin. He's got, like, all new weaponry and stuff like that, which I've gone over in previous thing. But in this thing, he, you know, the Hobgoblin's, you know, pissed that this guy took over his gear, and then he's like, "Oh, well, you killed my brother." He's like, "Oh, is that what you mean?" He's like, "No, I'm pissed because you took my gear, my identity, basically." And I had no idea that Roderick Kingsley's brother was the Rose, and I'm like, Richard Fisk. So I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, I just found that out today, actually, and I'll talk about that more later. So, like I said, I don't know everything about Spider-Man because I got to figure out when the hell that was around, because I knew the Rose. I remember when he was announced as Richard Fisk, who's obviously the Kingpin's son. So that means that Roderick Kingsley is related to the Kingpin. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, yeah, like, I have to really backtrack on stuff because Spider-Man, I was collecting, you know, Spider-Man all through when I was a kid. I stopped at the end of '94 with comics in general because I had other things in my mind, and didn't start collecting again until, like, towards the end of '98. And then I stopped again in 2000, the end of 2000, and didn't collect again until 2005, give or take, or 2006, because there was really no comics that was around. I didn't have the internet, and it was a whole big thing. But so I missed quite a lot of the Spider-Man. Like, basically the last Spider-Man I had gotten was when they remade #1 back in, like, '99. And then so now I'm, like, really backtracking and picking up new ones here and there. But so yeah, I'm gonna have to really look back into some of this stuff. But very, very interesting book. I'm quite enjoying this, and of course it ends at 700. It's the last of the Amazing Spider-Mans, so I'm gonna have to, you know, get those, obviously. But that is the end of the spoilers. So moving on to the other stuff. Alrighty, lots to do, lots to talk about. It's gonna be a long video. I actually, well, the people that were on this know about it, but I went on to look at this Comic Talk podcast that Captain Cummings had invited me to. Very, very cool. Very, very interesting. It was a lot of fun. I loved listening to everyone's stuff. And, of course, I threw my comments in here and there. And that's when I learned Roderick Kingsley was related to the Rose, which I had no idea. Because I was reading, like I said, I was reading this book. I'm like, who the hell is his brother? And I'm like, all right, wait a minute. And then, you know, it's a pain in the ass sometimes to try to look it up because you're like, oh, where can I find that? Where can I find that? So that was very, very, very cool. Anyone who watches Captain Cummings, the Captain Cummings, should check out his podcast thing. This is very, very fun. I liked it a lot. If I knew how to become part of the podcast, I probably would, but I'm not really good with the whole computer thing, so I might just, for a while, I might just watch and chime in on comments. So, thanks again for the invite, Captain Cummings. I appreciate it. But I also definitely felt out of my league with everyone on that panel. I'm like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that either. But it's very, very cool, very entertaining, and I learned some stuff. I also want to thank one of my new subscribers, Nick Fushare. I think that's how you say it. Thanks for subscribing, appreciate it. And for the last bit of news, I guess, I'm actually working on episode 60. I kind of changed it a bit. I was working on something. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do something else. And I had gone to my friend's Halloween party, so I basically filmed episode 60 at the Halloween party in a roundabout sort of way. So what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to make an episode 60 with this, but I'm going to throw the clips from the Halloween party into the episode. So it's kind of like an episode within an episode. So look forward to that. I'm kind of working on it now. And another thing I'm working on is a completely new kick-ass intro to my show that I was thinking about for a while, and I'm like, I really want to have an intro. Like, I do have a few intros. Like, if you watched my older episodes of Cracka, I had intros. Like, I would have a different intro and here and there, and then like later on I wouldn't have any intros, and I would have another intro, and I'm like, I'm never ever satisfied. I'm like, I like that. No, that's cooler. I'm gonna pick that now. But I was thinking of a cool intro to like kind of constantly have before the videos. So who knows? I'm working on it. It's actually quite tough. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be, but it'd be cool if I can get it right. Yeah, that was about it. I think that was everything I wanted to discuss. Oh yeah, well this another one. Apparently my area is gonna get hit with a hurricane, so there might not be videos up for a while. So that's why I'm trying to get episode 60 up and done before this thing hits tomorrow or later tonight or whatever it is. I forget when it's coming around. Who knows? They always claim you're gonna get this huge storm and then nothing happens, and usually you gotta worry when they don't say anything. That's when you're in trouble. When they say very little about things, that's when you gotta start panicking. But who knows? They're claiming we're gonna get knocked out of power for 7 to 10 days. Sucks. But anyway, I'm trying to, like I said, trying to throw stuff together fast and put it up before anything happens, just in case. And yeah, that's about it. Again, Mongo Stomptime07, Gary, I hope you have an awesome birthday. And if everyone likes what they see, please hit the little like button. If you really like what you see, subscribe. Always like new subscribers, new stuff to check out. And Hippies Collectibles, I want to say something. You're a funny guy. I was watching your recent videos, and very, very cool. Very cool. And yeah, I'll see everyone on the next update or episode. Later.